Hey, everybody, Thomas here. Today we're going to do a little quick look for some mushrooms in the woods, but we're also going to talk about some of the trees that we have here on our farm and trees that you can often find in the western to central portion of Tennessee. And if you're aware of kind of like this mid-south area between here and over to Alabama, this is some of the most diverse tree populated area that we have. Like, there's so many different species of trees. And our property, we are blessed to have a pretty big farm out here and everything. Our farm is mostly trees, and we have a pretty good variety of trees. I don't know the number of trees, but I mean, there's almost every single tree species I can think of that grows in Tennessee on our property. We're gonna go over a few real quick. And then we're gonna head down to this creek bottom behind me, see if we can find some morels. We've been looking for morels the past couple, week and a half or so. We had a cold snap that came through right before last weekend, and I think that kind of pushed everything to the right. So I'm in an area of our property where it hasn't been cut over in a long time, and I'm just kind of like looking around, and there's at least 15 different species of trees around me, and we're going to go through them real quick. Okay, so this tree that's diagonally over, that's a dead cedar tree. We do have a live cedar tree there. Cedar tree is really eastern red cedar. It's an evergreen tree, and I will show more examples down the road, but I just want to show there's cedar trees here, and I'm going to show some of these other trees like in person close up here shortly. But there's a red oak there, so that tree is a red oak. This right here is a hickory tree. You see the interlocking grain of a hickory there and everything. That is a gum tree. And that is a white oak tree. And I'm going to show bigger examples. This is one of the biggest persimmons that I've seen right here. See this bark here for persimmon. Sometimes people call it like an alligator tree. Very raised bark and like almost like little nodules like you'd see on the back of an alligator. And that is a absolutely straight persimmon tree there. There is a elm tree there, some more persimmons. Let's walk into the woods a little bit, and we're going to kind of go over some of these other species a little bit closer up. Small specimen here, and I'm going to show you the bigger one, but you'll notice if you ever see a tree during wintertime that has like these yellowish leaves like this, odds are it's American beech. This big tree right here is a variety of maple. I'm going to say it's a red maple, and it's not like the swamp variety. I bet you a squirrel sits there quite often, but yeah, that is a maple tree there. You can see kind of like that smoother bark up towards the top, and you can see it's starting to bud out. Yeah, just amazing. You can usually tell in a maple, you'll see the bark kind of raised up like this, and it's kind of like a twisting looking bark, if that makes any sense. Okay, this tree right here at the bottom, you can see it's kind of like a grayish color, and towards the top it's grayish color, but the bark looks like it's almost like sections that would peel off. That is a white oak. We have lots and lots of white oak out here. I mean, that's a white oak, that's a white oak, and you can distinguish a white oak from a red oak quite easily, mostly just based on the color of the tree. And I'll find a good example here in a second, but that's a cherry, a black cherry. If you look at cherry, I guess from the distance, you could say, oh, this is kind of like the persimmon. It's dark like a persimmon. It's got smaller little sections that you can almost kind of like peel off and everything. And I don't know, it's a nice dark color. That's a pretty nice little straight cherry tree. Usually they're crooked as all get out. There's another one right there. Again, they stand out pretty dark. You have, let's go to this tree left here. I got Katie walking up behind. Actually, let's go over here. Okay, so oftentimes these are called like a elephant foot tree or something to that effect. It's a American beech. American beech, smooth bark, puts all the way up and down. It's like a grayish color. If you were to cut your initials into these trees, you oftentimes will see that and everything. People will cut initials into them, and it will continue to grow out. It's something that old timers used to do. And Coincidentally, if you look over here to the right, you'll see that's also a beech tree that's on the ground, because beech trees, once they get a certain size, they are a very strong, dense wood, but they do not bend very well. So if you have a big storm roll through, they don't bend very well, and you will have branches and stuff break off. That's an ash tree, and it looks like it is still alive, which is good. We've got the emerald boring beetle in the area, and it's been just wreaking havoc all across the US and everything. It's quite sad. Any trees that are very low in tannic acid, ash being one of them, are susceptible to the emerald boring beetle, whatever they call it. It's a green little beetle thing. If you ever see them, just kill them. I know it probably won't make a dip in the bucket, but makes me feel good. It looks like a white oak it's dead and has all the mushrooms on it, or all the fungus growing on it. So we've already covered a majority of species. We've got some more American beech here in front of us. We've got some white oak right there. Lots of American beech over there. We've got a red maple over there. Let's go down here to this creek bottom and see. Sorry, leaves are so loud, but let's see if we can find some type of mushroom growth. I think we're gonna have to be in a wet area before we find anything. Also, this is late March. Now is a perfect time to watch out for copperheads. The baby copperheads, they're coming out. All the snakes are really coming out, but those baby copperheads, you'll find them oftentimes when you're looking for morel mushrooms, and they blend in so well with all this leaf litter on the ground. So just kind of like take heed and watch out for that. That's probably to a hickory tree, but I'm not seeing said hickory tree. This is another interesting tree. It's similar to an American beech. This is not really a great example. In fact, there's a better example over here. This is what I call ironwood. So if you come across a tree that looks like American beech, and if you grab it, and you'll feel like there's these like deep grooves that kind of go all the way around it. We call that ironwood. I don't know what other names it goes by, but I'll say this, hence the name. It's ironwood. It's pretty hard. So there's that. I've cut it up before in very small amounts, and we've lined like the top rail of a canoe or something like that. Okay, this right here is a cedar grove that we have on the property. Majority of these trees that you see that are green are all eastern red cedar. We'll get a closer look, and there's a rarity behind it too, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. Let's go to this bigger one here. This is eastern red cedar. Eastern red cedar, you'll know that has this really like hairy bark that can kind of come off. This is great kindling. So you take all this, you kind of crush it up, and you get all these fibers. That right there is great for starting fires. That's a decent sized tree right there. That's about a 14-inch diameter, nothing major. But we do have a lot of cedar trees on our property. We do live in Cedar Grove, Tennessee, so one would think Cedar Grove, Tennessee has cedar trees. You have another red oak over there, and the rare tree I'm talking about is that tree right there. Pine tree. We do not have a lot of pine trees on our property. In total, we probably only have about 20 pine trees on our entire property. So it's always a rarity when you see a pine tree. Let me get a better example of a gum. So we showed a gum earlier, but it wasn't a great example of the bark. This right here is a pretty good example. So the bark here, that's not really a great example either, because the tree next to it is definitely gum. This one here, yeah, that's gum too. It just seemed different. I'm used to seeing a little bit more raised bark than that. Here's a good example right here. So on a gum tree right here, you'll have some really raised bark, and it's really soft. It's almost like a spongy type feel. Again, we're showing these trees without a whole lot of leaves on there, just going strictly by the tree itself, the way the wood looks, and all that. Hopefully this is interesting for some folks, but again, there's so much variety. We started right there, and we've already gone through a number of species. I'm going to try to mark out or do like a little list at the end of this video to go over all the different tree species we just talked about, and we haven't even gotten off of 1 acre of our property. It's quite impressive. We have some more maples down here. You can spot them from a mile away. These red maples, and There was a little blue-tailed skink that just went by. Anyways, you can see like this woven type bark on them. I don't know how else to explain it. It's whenever I see them, I can tell them from like a mile away what they are. Okay, we're in an area here that has some moisture, and it's getting kind of warm right now. So hopefully this is an area where we'd see morels. Morels are one of my favorites to pop up and everything, and to get a hold of before the turkeys do. Beautiful little creek section here. A wide frame. But yeah, oftentimes in like these wet spots right here is where we'd have some morels. When we get down to the bottom here, I'll talk about this real quick. That's how you know you have gumballs or gum trees in the area. That's a gumball right there. So you see these all over the place. They're seed pods. They spread like crazy, and you have gum trees that pop up everywhere. I'm not a big fan of gum trees. There's one right there, but it's an interlocking grain wood. It can be pretty. It can have some nice grays and blues and stuff in it, but I'm not a big fan of it. Again, little watering hole here. Dogs are enjoying it. Annie, are you hot? So hot. It's like 82 degrees, Daddy. I'm so hot. That's pretty funny. Just a neat little watering hole. All right. Starting to get a few spiders out here, so just walk through a spider web. That's good. Spring is definitely here. I'm happy. As it gets warmer and more trees start to grow, it's going to be easier to identify and make some of these videos where people can more easily see stuff. This is more the ironwood, like I was talking about. So you see these grooves that are on there, I mean, all the way around. Very, very strong wood. Very strong wood. I don't even know. Again, I'll have to figure out what the actual name is. It's just something that we call it. It's probably some country bumpkin name that I've grown up using, and it's probably something completely different, but we always call it ironwood. Okay, I'm gonna walk down here to the swamp bottoms. I hear kids coming, and we'll go look some more down there, because there's a couple different species down there that are indicative of water-rich areas. Okay, so we've made it down here to essentially the flat bottoms and everything, and I want to talk about this really cool tree in front of us. We didn't find any morels yet. It seems kind of dry for me, but we'll get onto that subject later. So notice how the bark here at the bottom of this tree is kind of scaly, if you will, and as you go higher up, it's scaly, 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 and then it almost becomes smooth and green and stuff like that. And then these are some of the largest leaves that you will find out in the woods. This, in fact, is a sycamore tree. Absolutely love them. Typically find them in wet areas. I don't know what it is about wet areas. I do know that they have a very large root network that will extend out in many, probably like 6 to 8 feet in every direction from the base of the tree. Very large root sections. You typically don't find sycamore trees that fall down. On the Gulf Coast, when we have hurricanes come through, you'll see them leaning over, or even where the kind of like the soil comes up and down, stuff like that. And over time, it might grow back, or the next storm might take it down. Just interesting about sycamore trees there. That dead tree you see right there, that is a cherry tree. From a mile away, you can tell just because of the bark, the way the bark looks. Another thing is you have a couple big red oaks over here. There's an ash tree over there, and there's some oak trees over there. So pretty interesting. Also, down here in front of us, you will see a poplar tree, one of my favorite trees. Some people call it tulip poplar, some people call it just poplar, all sorts of stuff like that. Beautiful, beautiful straight trees. I absolutely love cutting them up. They cut like butter, and they typically don't have a whole lot of limbs and stuff on them. We're going to show you some indicators. Hopefully we'll see them on the ground here. I saw them up the hillside. If you ever look for morel mushrooms, one of the things you really need to look into is, are there May apples that are currently out? May apples are a good indication that the soil temperatures are right, the moisture content's right, and I will find oftentimes morels underneath of May apples. So we're going to head down here to what we call Snake Pond. Okay, we've made it across, and we are approaching Snake Pond. This is one little water hole pond on our property that, I'm not kidding you, it's wild. So the tree right here next to Daniel, that is a cypress tree. And one cool thing about cypress trees is they have these knees that pop up out of the ground. They've got multiple knees. You'll see some over there, some over there. But I've planted these trees. I actually planted them up that way near where the little creek bridge crossing is. And they've migrated down this way. And now I have a number of cypress trees growing around Snake Pond, which is awesome because they're all around the edge. So as the water comes up, seeds will float down. They kind of like have these little bobby seeds that like looks like a little bobber, and they will self-plant. Now this pond right now looks like there's not enough air getting to it and everything. It's starting to grow some algae and whatnot. But there is also a beaver that works on the backside of here. We recently went over here looking for things, and we found a beaver skull and some other stuff with the kids. Absolutely awesome. The majority of the trees down here in this swamp bottom are red maple. There's a few gum trees down here as well, but these maple trees right down here, you can see that they're nice smooth bark, nice twisting bark, all sorts of stuff like that. So again, we've made it from the hilltop, or halfway down our hilltop, down here to the bottoms. We've covered so many trees. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The number of tree species that we see out here. And we haven't even gotten up to what's on the hilltop, because on the hilltop we find all sorts of unique trees up there. We're going to head there next, but I had to do one little look over here in this wet area. I just saw a bullfrog jump into the water. Very cool. Dana, be careful. We're going to start having all sorts of critters come out. Right there, that's a mayapple that's starting to pop up. So we have the correct moisture content, and we have the correct temperature. Just gotta find these dang morels. I've been seeing the posts and everything from people. They are quite late this year. I say we're running about a week later than we were last year. So we'll continue to look. There's another cypress tree right there. Love it. And yeah, okay, we're gonna head up through the woods. We're gonna take a little hyperlapse here as we walk through the woods. Then we're gonna walk up to the hilltop and talk about some of the cool trees up there. Okay, so we're up almost to the field here, and mixture of your most of our property also is hardwoods. So you've got some red oaks over there, you have some softwoods with the cedars here, but a lot of the majority trees around the property over here are going to be hardwoods. Now, I always walk through the woods here, and I know what some of the species are just out of memory and everything. But I don't remember every single species that's on this little path right here. But this is the old Parker Store Road. You can almost see it's like a road bed that we're walking. And there's always water in this area. So I figured this might be a good little section to walk. And maybe we can find some mushrooms along the way. Because I'm telling you, the moisture in the air doesn't feel quite right. Feels like it's just kind of dry. We're going to get some rain this weekend, so that'll help. But again, we got your white oaks, you got your, that's an ash, that's a persimmon tree that's dead. We got some more cedars and stuff, but there's another beech tree. The branches are broke off of that because, well, I did that with the tractor, because beech trees slap you hard into the tree in the woods. I talk about that often in my videos. But we're going to walk here and find something unique. Kids are having fun getting out, exploring the property. We go out on these hikes like this about every other day. Then this afternoon or this evening, we're going to go down and go fish the lake and go try to catch some dinner and stuff down there, some crappie and whatnot. Maybe a few small bass. I'll eat a small bass here and there because our lake is kind of overpopulated with them. But for the most part, crappie, bluegill, those are always family favorites. Up on top of the hill there, that's a cabin I've been working on with the kids. It's an 8 by 12 cabin. Kind of a mixture. Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of just wood that came off of the house and just wood that we had around and extra things that my dad had in the sawmill. Come on, kids, we're gonna go this way. Okay. They have their set of stairs there, if you will. All right, I'm surprised we have not seen any snakes or anything, but you can see this is the old roadbed here from back when this was a wagon wheel trail and pre-Civil War era. Lots of history on this property. Lots of history. Got more persimmon tree, more cherry. Lots of dead ash, unfortunately. You can see the tops of those trees are kind of all done. Emerald boring beetle has not been kind to these trees. I did see one while I was filming in the bottoms, and I could not get my camera to switch over to video fast enough, so I kind of missed that shot. But it's like a little shiny green little bug, little turd bug. Try not to get my feet wet. Always water down here, and Tommy keeps riding the four-wheeler down here, so it's like it always stays a water pit. Way back in the day, I used to have a deer stand. I believe it was on this oak tree right here. I used to get deer bow hunting this area. They come out into that little opening there behind me. There was a deer I used to name, his name was Weezer. He'd always come around here and start coughing. Never shot that deer, but it was pretty funny to kind of watch him and see things grow and whatnot. Little button buck that I saw over about a 2-year period back when I was in high school. All right, let's get back to tree identification, and we're gonna have some unique ones that are up on the field edge. And as you can see, our new house that we're rebuilding is in the distance there. I've cleared out all these trees here. My wife is hard at work working the tile today. I went a little detour route to the house so I could work on this video. All right, let's go look over here for these unique trees I want to show you. Okay, first things first, this tree here, which I took down with fire. I actually burnt out the base of this tree. This, I thought initially was a pecan tree because it was a dead tree, and I was kind of looking at the bark, what little bark there was. I'm like, I think that's a pecan tree. Well, it turns out it wasn't a pecan tree, and I didn't realize that until I started cutting it up. It turns out it was a red elm. And one of the things that gives away a red elm for me is the smell of red elm. If you've ever cut it, you know what I'm talking about. And also the way the grain looks and the coloration. This is a tree that was here on the film on the edge of the property, and I did start a film on this one, and I'll hopefully put in maybe a little video of this tree as we were burning it to kind of bring it down, or something to that effect. But what I wanted to show was this right here. This doesn't look like much here, and most people wouldn't know what this was until the leaves start coming out. What this is, and there's a lot of them, which is weird because I mean I've never really seen. Well, I can't say that. I usually find them on edges of fields, but the number that we found here and all the way down this row of trees here, a majority of them are the same type of tree, and it is a sassafras. So sassafras, the bark, it's got a unique bark to it. It is kind of a soft, spongy bark like that of gum and everything. And the leaf itself looks like a dinosaur foot. So you'll have like a 3-pronged leaf. You'll have a lobe in the top that is long, and you'll have 2 side lobes like you would see like the Land Before Time, the little critters walking around that have like almost like a bigger version of a turkey trail. Now they do have different kinds of leaves, but the 3-leaf that you'll see on most of the trees or anything, actually all the trees will have the 3-leaf. It just shows there's a couple different leaves that they do have. But anyways, you'll see that leaf everywhere. This is a tree that you can make root beer out of, sarsaparilla. I mean, that's what sassafras is. And my granddad, when I was a kid, used to go through the woods. He'd pick the leaves off here, and he'd say, "You can use this to brush your teeth." He'd grab a leaf off, kind of swish it around in his mouth with his finger, and quote unquote brush his teeth. Very interesting. Also, I like to use it during bow season, and I will chew on it. I will rub it on me, just get that smell on there as to kind of hide my own scent, if you will. Well, hope you enjoyed that quick little walk with us. We didn't cover very much. We just went down to the creek, down to Snake Pond, and back up the ridge over there on our new property here. So blessed to have this property here. And I love walking through this with my kids. We get through the woods here a whole lot. My daughter is probably the best out of all the kids at identifying trees. She can probably identify close to about 40 different species of trees. It's amazing. We go out into the woods, we quiz each other all the time on what type of trees things are. My son's pretty good, but I don't think he has the attention span quite of what my daughter does. He just wants to go out there and, find stuff, look for stuff. But he's really good at finding the turtle shells, the deer skulls, all sorts of stuff like that. Later on, probably this weekend, maybe when it's raining a little bit, we'll probably go out to our other property down the road, 65-acre property, and we are going to go to the creek bottom down there and go look for morels. I know we'll find some stuff down there, and these stumps in the background, you'll find a lot of those. So our other property that we have down the road has a lot of cedar trees and has a lot of black walnut. We walked through there Saturday? I think it was like last Saturday. We went through there. We did an evening hike and everything. We covered about 2 miles. And in that 2-mile section, I think we counted over 110 black walnut trees. So that's freaking awesome. Now, I don't like cutting anything off my own property, but I have to take a mental note after a big storm comes through to walk through that section of the woods and see if there's anything worth getting if it falls down. Currently, I have 2 black walnut trees that have been pushed down by a storm, and I have 2, so in total 4 trees, but I have 2 poplar trees I need to go out there and get to. I can't really figure out a good way to get to the poplar trees based on how far out they are, but the black walnut tree, it's pretty close to a trail system. And the other one, it's smaller, but I think I can get a few things out of it. All right, I've jabbered on enough. Hope you found this video interesting. Again, I'll go through when there's leaves on the trees and we can go over the leaves and stuff like that. But if you live in Tennessee, you have so many tree species available to you. The top trees we have on this property are gonna be poplar, white oak, red oak, hickory, both pignut and shagbark, red maple, cedar, ash, but ash, like I said, unfortunately is dying off. Those are like probably the top number of trees we have on the property, and there's a whole lot of other trees, not subspecies, but other tree species out there, but not into the same numbers that we find those. We also, on this property, my property over here, the new 70-acre farm we bought, I've got about 40 or so black walnut trees, and my parents just walk through the woods, rough numbers, we probably have about 50, 60 black walnut trees, and they've got 150 acres next door. So that's a pretty good number of black walnuts. But my property down the road, the 65-acre farm, there's a lot of black walnut there. Oh, another wood is the beech, American beech. We have tons of beech out here. So there it is in a nutshell. I will hopefully do a listing of all the trees we talked about at the end of this, and we'll kind of count them up. So we'll see you around. Thanks.